calling the meeting for January 27th, 2025 for the Single Family Design Board. We'll start with a roll call.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I will start with roll call. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahi. We have quorum.
All right. First up is public comment. This is for any item not on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. If anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill a slip out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention to virtual attendance. And at this time, I have no hands raised for virtual attendance, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So I thought I will turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
All right, thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes from the full board meeting on January 13th. We also have a copy printed here if anyone would like to see it. I read through and didn't have any revisions. Okay, then I'll move to approve the minutes from the full board meeting on January 13th.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry, Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahi.
Yes.
Okay, next is approval of the minutes from the consent meeting on January 6th. That was mine, and I did review the minutes, so I'll move to approve the minutes from the consent meeting on January 6th.
I'll second.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahi.
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is approval of the consent minutes from January 13th.
I reviewed them, but I want to see them again really quickly. Just emotions. Not the conditions. I don't need to see those. Just yeah, keep going. It's just one thing I think I wanted to see again. Keep going. That one. Okay. And that's it. I'll make a motion for approval of the consent minutes for January 13th.
I'll second.
We'll take a vote. Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahi.
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have ratification of the action taken at the consent calendar for January 21st.
So this was all on the agenda that was posted for today, for today's hearing. Item 1 for 1790 Eucalyptus Road received project design approval and final approval with conditions. Item 2, 3763 Pescadero Drive, project design approval and final approval with conditions. 3728 Cordero Drive, project design approval and final approval with conditions. And 3150 Seacliff was a review after final that was approved. And finally, 1534 Live Oak Lane was final approval with conditions.
Okay, I'll move to ratify the action taken at the consent calendar on January 21st.
Second.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahi.
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, lastly, any announcements or future agenda items?
Yeah. So at the next full board hearing, we are aiming to present updates on the SFDB process improvements and provide discussion opportunity for guideline revisions and Title 30 changes. Only one project will be reviewed at the hearing, since most of the time will be just for the discussion item. And the second announcement I wanted to make is that the third item that was posted on today's agenda, item 3, 1257 Farello Road, has been continued indefinitely at applicant request. And we'll put that on the agenda, put it back on the agenda when the applicant is ready. And that's it for
Perfect.
staff announcements.
Okay. Anybody else? Perfect. Our first item here today is a continued item here for project design and final approval, 2436 Calle Andalusia. Proposal to construct 304 square feet of conforming first floor additions to an existing 1,575 square foot single-story, single-unit residence. The project qualifies for substantial redevelopment. An existing 422 square foot two-car garage will remain. Project also includes removal of mulberry tree and rear yard, new trees, landscape, and hardscape. The proposed total of 2,301 square feet of development on a 10,019 square foot lot is 62% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio. Front and interior setback modifications were approved by the staff hearing officer on January 6th to allow the residence and garage to remain non-conforming, combined with substantial redevelopment. Okay, the project was last reviewed on October 28th, so welcome. Do we have staff comments?
Chair Lewis, board members, Holly Garson with Planning and Zoning. No substantial staff comments today. Just wanted to relay that the staff hearing officer granted the land use approvals with the standard conditions of approval. So I'm here for questions if needed. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So if you can make sure as a part of your presentation to go through the previous minutes, and you'll have 15 minutes.
Okay, actually, I don't have the
Oh,
previous minutes.
they're on the third tab as on your screen here, as well as the old plans on the second tab up at the top.
Yeah, at the very
I don't know
top.
what's on
Oh,
yours.
Yeah, there you go.
Right,
Yeah, you
right,
got it.
okay.
Yeah.
Hey, got it. got
Okay,
it.
and if you wouldn't mind stating your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Madam Chair, board members, my name is Chris Manson-Hing, representing Manson-Hing Architects. We've been here a couple of times on this project already. And I guess we have been to the single-family board, and not the staff hearing officer for our modifications. And I think prior to that, your board saw it before it went to the staff hearing officer, almost for the identical thing. So let me find my my minutes here. Item B here. So continued indefinitely to staff hearing officer and return to full board with comments. The board is in support of the project, and bulk and scale of the project works well with the neighborhood. The board would like to see a material and finishes board and the architectural details. The board would like to see the developed landscape plans with the proposed trees after the removal of the existing mulberry tree. The board supports the 10-inch raise of the gable roof in the setback. And that would be setbacks because it's the front and the interior yard. So if you would like, I can jump straight to the material and finishes board if that's something that you find quicker to do. So we go all the way to sheet AM1. Let's scroll down. Okay, so here we are at AM1. You may have seen some of this already. So we still, if I can, should I run through the whole? So we have the house is existing shingles right now, asphalt shingles, and we're going to stay with the dark gray color. The building has its original stonework. I don't know if you recall this. Owner grew up in this building, and it was one of the first buildings in this development to be built. She has fond memories of it. So while it's a fairly major remodeling that we'll redo a lot of the stuff, she wanted to retain the shape and form of the building, which included the roof slope and general scale. So we have an addition that goes out the back of the building on the northern side, and she wanted to retain the stonework that's there, and then we build off of that stonework. You would see that there's this battened
Sorry,
wood.
1 second. Staff, can we get your help making sure all the screens are working? If you want to check on the underside, sometimes it comes unplugged under the desk. Sorry. Otherwise, we can just shuffle a little bit. You can see from up there? Okay. Okay, we'll continue with the screens that we've got. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. You can continue.
That's all right, that's all right. So I'm going to point, you would see this battened wood that is on the front of the garage. This is, the existing building has this, and if you want, I can go back up to the original photos. You want me to go back up to that?
Eventually, it would be helpful, so we either
Okay,
know.
so
or
let's
later.
scroll right back up there. I'm just going to show the original photos. So here are original photos of the house. Okay, so over here on the far left, and I wish I could zoom in on that.
It's a touch screen, if that's helpful.
I don't use laptops, so it's just the, it's a little hard to see here, but this garage has these same identical wooden battens in the front of it. And so we are going to keep that. But you see this where the cursor is going around there. This comes from, this is not a horizontal cut in the roof. It actually has an Asian cut where it slopes out to the front. And we're going to trim that off so it's more vertical and take off the beam that's out hanging, which we're not sure how that Asian element came into it, but a lot of the houses in the neighborhood have it. So you see the stonework that exists right here, we're keeping that. And then the rest of the house will all become plaster and metal windows. So what we're going to do is around the whole garage, and I will go back now, way back down to the AM, if I can find it, let's see where I am here. Got to zoom back in here. Not too high. What we've done with the, okay, so what we've done with the garage element is this whole rectangle of the two L's. So you have the main house which goes left to right, and then you have the garage building which goes south to north. We're going to encase the whole garage in paneled wood. And we're going to paint that in a barn red color, as you can see up at the top up here. And then the rest of the house is going to be this white contrasting color with the metal windows and doors and stone sills on the front. At the entrance, again, it's like a vertical board stained in a deep red color, which is closer to this color over here on the far right. And it will have a screen in front of a glazed panel that's right next to it, side panel. So let's see here. We have two skylights that are introduced at the top, low profile. The chimney remains the same over here, which is this brick clad chimney. And a consideration for it is that because it's orange right now, the opt is to leave it at orange, but if there's too much of a clash, we would like to wash it in a white color, which is very neutral. What you're seeing on the left over here is a concrete finished wall. And the reason why we have that in here now is that the landscape architects, we have a retaining wall that goes down the western side of the yard right here, and that's kind of a major wall because the land rises up to the neighbor. So that wall is about 5 feet high, and just to give you an idea, then we have the coloring with this red. We have this concrete color that goes down the side of the house, and we want it in this particular banding where there's a horizontal line that it's about, it's like maybe 18 inches high, in very high bands. So there'll be 2 of them over 5 feet then. And that same smoothness is what we're looking for. Let's see what else. Oh yes, look in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see a blow-up of the existing wood that's on the garage right now. So if you wanted to zoom in on that there, see, that's what exists right now. So it will have this grooving in the back, and then this wood that is every 4 feet or so is going to be retained. That whole style is going to be retained. So this is how she gets to keep the character that was there before and have the memories that she's always had. On the left-hand side of this sheet, as you can see, is just examples of the metal doors and windows that we have. Up in the far left is what, even though this is green, what it is meant to show is the stain of the wood. As you can see some of the character of the wood through it, and then when you have the other stronger vertical elements on the left of it, what that does to the whole look of that face. These are just examples on the left-hand side. A still example here with the metal windows and the plaster wall is also there. Yeah. Some color schemes for the whole project are like here where you have that reddish orange, and then we have the gray. We're using the concrete gray, and we're using the roof is the dark gray, and we're using our downspouts in galvalume. I think I have it up here on this far right. Downspouts, galvalume steel gutters and downspouts. Yeah, the alternative would be just the galvanized steel. So it's that same gray patina again that we're looking for. We have these on the hardware to the front door is this Sun Valley bronze hardware, and we're using the Sun Valley bronze around the doors outside and the rear also, which are identical to, hang on a sec, what's on here. Zoom in there, yeah. Which one here? Which is a simple lever, yeah. So, I was just trying to navigate around here. Okay, so we also have light fixtures to the front here that will throw this. We're looking for this nice light pattern that's thrown on the front of the building. That is symmetrical about the entrance reveal in the house. So the windows are very, they're very simple, symmetrical. We have that around the rear of the house also. It's not a very elaborate, detailed building. It's more of a modern version of this ranch house. What I'd like to take you to is the exterior details. These are the skylight, low profile details here. This is the roof eave, which is on one side, like on the northern side where there's not much sun, it's like a 2 foot. And then on the east and west, there's this 3 foot extent. And so we will have this T&G grooved board that will continue out here. And it's very simple. It does not have any battens around it. In this one here, while you see this wood here, what you're seeing is the fascia at the end, which is a little deeper than the thickness of our membrane here. And this is the beam that is just above the entrance as you go into the entrance. Let's see. Let's go to doors and windows, We're going to look at the details of doors and windows.
And you have just a few minutes left, but I know we took some of yours as well. If you can make sure to include your landscape.
Oh, okay.
Onto-
Okay, so these are doors and windows, typical returning plaster into the steel doors and windows. Okay, and the steel doors and windows are almost identical, the windows and the doors and their detailing. Let me go straight down to the landscape, because they have a lot of drawings. And I'm trying to push to tuck that. Okay, here we go. Let's get it to catch up. Here, the landscape architects have a lot of drawings. These are the, what is that? Okay, that's the, yeah, bosky landscape. Yeah, so these are some more pictures of the existing here. Let's just go on what's proposed. So here we are in the proposal here. Again, this concrete wall here is going to replace one that exists right now that is only about 3 feet away from it, which runs along, and then it has a 45-degree turn here and then comes here. We're going to replace it with this wall, which is concrete, and then we'll have a stone patio, stone finished, and then there's also a stone in more of a flagstone movement that goes around here. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm not, okay, let's see here. The mulberry tree that's being removed is right where this P4 is here. And you can see they're adding back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trees, and then 2 in the front here. And then there are 4 other trees that they're adding to the front. I think these are more fruit trees to the front. There is also in this, these are their finishes in the yard here on the left-hand side, I mean, on the right-hand side of this page. And then there is a, this is the layout of all the plantings and their spacings. And this is the images that they have for what they're planting. I guess the trees are up there on the top. Let's see their details. What's this one? Hydrozone legend, irrigation details. Anything in particular I may have left out that you would like to? I'm trying to recall all the stuff that they have, but those were the main things. These are more code-related items that they have in here. And that's this section, and this is has to do with drainage. So anything in particular I could answer?
We'll move to questions, and so then the board can ask questions. and you can
Sure,
answer
then
those.
I'll put it back on its site plan then if you
Perfect.
like that one, which is kind of nicer to look at.
And we'll actually move to public comment first.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for public comment on this particular item, and I see no one in the audience to make a comment, so we will move on to virtual attendance. And at this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual attendance for this particular project. And we did receive written correspondence for this project from Paul Miller and Laura and Bruce Willis. And at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with questions from the board. Any questions?
I had one quick question about the new retaining wall. You said that's board form concrete retaining wall?
I really don't know how they're going to form it. It's very smooth concrete. When I think of board formed, I think of the wooden forms that try to pick up the board characteristics.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Okay.
We want it very smooth, except for where this joint line is. So either they use a steel form that has a joint, or they use a very smooth piece of wood that's somehow finished so that it leaves no grooves in it, you know.
Yeah, Not that it's a big deal. I was just wondering how you were going to do the curve with the form, because it's a curved
That's a good
wall.
question. Yeah, I had that question for the landscape architects too, but
Okay.
Kenny Construction says they could do it, so we said, well, fine.
All right.
It's
Good enough for me.
yeah.
I just had one quick question. Could you go back over the front door? I think I wasn't fully clear on the front door, and then there's like a slider to the right. Is that an existing condition, or can you just cover in the
All
plan?
new. So what I'll do is I'll
Okay.
take you to the door and window schedule, which will probably give you the most information about that. Let's see if I can get up there. Oh, that's windows. What's this one? Windows. Okay, so top left-hand corner, look at this here. So what we have, that's the whole opening is that full width, 7 foot 5 inches. And really the plane that the door is in is going to be these two things, a side light that has this glazed window, and then the door is the solid wood panel. But in front of this glazed window, we're going to have just vertical screen. There's a vertical screen that stands off about 3 or 4 inches. So the idea of that is that people inside can actually see outside very well, but people outside really have a hard time trying to see details inside, you know.
Got it.
And this lets light into that entry. And that verticality just kind of mimics what we're doing around the rest of the property.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then only other question, just for the color of the siding, is that just driven by kind of client preference? Is that inspired by anything specific?
Well, I would have to say that it's a combination. It's a combination. When we came to this project, and you may recall when I first brought this project under the same, let me see if I don't want to draw this out too long for you.
You have the old plans on the second tab if you want to reference them.
Second tab. Oh, is the old plan? I think it's better that I carry it to
Okay.
I feel like I just put everything into the new set now. So let's go down to EM. So here we are. So if you look at over here where that cursor is, and you will see this is actually a project that I had done already in a recent project. And we had a plaster that was going to be this kind of, it had a green tone in it, and it had these white sole and steel windows and doors. And I gave the client these two options. One was very comfortable, you know, that can live, that's like, nobody's gonna object to that, you know. And then the other one is this, that, okay, if I was gonna go to something, this client is very color, you know, she really likes color. It's like a big thing. And I gave her these two options, and she really wanted the red, because I had this vision of red barns that I love, you know. And this wood, the garage was just clad wood already, and it just spoke to me right away, you know, clad wood, and then the rest of the house is plaster. So it had to be this dynamic. I wanted this dynamic to pop, because I just didn't want it to be boring, because she kept the same form, which is kind of boring, you know. I would have wanted a higher pitch roof and stuff like that. But anyway, that's how we came to it. She really enjoyed the red, and that's how we went to go to the red and white. So it really has it's simple colors, but very dynamic to have both of them strike off of each other.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so.
That's it for
Okay.
me.
Any questions?
Just a quick question. The board and batten on the south elevation, that one is going to be existing and it's going to be painted or replacement?
On the south elevation?
Yeah, the one that it's red now.
Yeah, that's going to be stained red.
Okay,
Yeah, and it'll be all new.
all new.
Yeah, because the existing wood you saw right at the bottom, right here, you see that with the tape?
Yes.
It's old. When you look at it, look at it. You see, so you can sand that and you can do it, but it's an old plywood, right? And so we think it's better for us to replace it that has the same detail and then stain it.
So the pattern and the verticals will be the same?
But
like to match,
exactly
but-
the same, even the spacing, and that's why I took the tape, because I wanted to retain the spacing. It just felt really well, like it was nice.
I try to understand like how, because it's like, it looks like it's only the south elevation. I try to understand from the pictures, like how does it transition to the walls on the side? I couldn't find it from the
Ooh, let's
pictures,
go
but
to-
is there a detail that shows that? Like how does it, with just the vertical?
Oh, how does it turn the corner?
Yeah, the corner.
I have to say that, well, the rest, if you look at the So the battens that are in the front, the heavier battens, that's the only place where the heavier battens exist in the garage right now. And that's the only place we're going to put them back. But the board behind it, which has the grooves in it, does not currently exist along the west elevation or when it turns. So if we went to the elevations here,
I think she's asking if the red is going to continue. And so
Yes,
the entire
yes.
garage that is wood will be stained that
yes,
color.
the red is going to encompass that whole here. See there? That's the
Yeah.
western side of the garage. And then it turns right here in. So that rectangle is all going to be red.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Is there, so the wood only exists at the garage as currently proposed?
Correct.
Would there be an opportunity to use that in another place with that addition onto the rear yard and continue that to the north-south? Or is that something that the client wants to keep clean and white?
No, we don't think that it really is appropriate to the design right now to take that back there. One could do it. We just see the house as a different dynamic to this garage element that's in the front, you know? Sorry about that, yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. It was a thought, though. So it's not like it wasn't thought about, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any, I think you showed us site lighting. Can you walk us through that real quick on the?
Yeah, so let's see. We have this light fixture here.
Not just the exterior, do you have lighting throughout the landscape areas or no?
Yes, they do.
Okay, okay.
And it's in, yes, let's go down to landscape. Back to landscape.
It was L 5.0, page 65.
Page 65. Here, no, that's irrigation. Here. There we go. Landscape lighting. And I think they have some pictures of the fixtures. Do you want to see those? Okay, they are. Look.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move to comments. We'll start over here, Board Member Sherry.
I think it's a nice project, and I think it's ready for preliminary and final approval.
Thank you, Board Member Graffiti.
I agree. I think it's a nice project, and I really like the landscape plan too. I think it'll complement the house really well.
Okay. Board Member,
Yeah, I think the project is ready for
Okay.
final approval.
Board Member Richards.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, same. In regards to the materials, I think you're doing a good job of trying to keep the stain where we can still see the wood, and I think that will help because most of the neighborhood is more muted of a palette, but I think that the colors work together and leading in that more warm tone with the red, I think, helps. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for preliminary and final approval as submitted. With the neighborhood preservation findings that the proposed development is consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. The proposed development is compatible with the neighborhood and its size, bulk, and scale is appropriate to the site and neighborhood as no changes to the size, bulk, and scale are proposed as part of this project. The proposed buildings and structures are designed with quality architectural details, and the proposed materials and colors maintain the natural appearance of the ridgeline or hillside, and the proposed red color is intended to be reminiscent of a rural barn aesthetic, so as such is appropriate. No, oh yeah, there are trees being proposed to be removed, but they are mitigated sufficiently on the proposed landscape plan. and the public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. The project generally complies with the Good Neighbor Guidelines regarding privacy, landscape, noise, and lighting. And the development, including proposed structures and grading, preserves significant public scenic views of and from the hillside, as no views are being affected by the proposed development. And the development, including the proposed structures and grading, is appropriate to the site, is designed to avoid visible scarring, and does not significantly modify the natural topography of the site or the natural appearance of any ridgeline or hillside. And the development maintains a scale and form that blends in with the hillside by minimizing the visual appearance of structures and the overall height of structures, as no changes to the mass and scale of the project are proposed.
I was going to say, I'll second that. I just had one clarifying question for the maker of the motion. In the notes, I know that it says proposal to construct 304 square feet of conforming first floor additions. Is that just conforming square footage, or is that new square? I just want to make sure in our notes that's correct.
It's new square footage
Yeah.
that's conforming to all setbacks.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and
So just, I think it was one of your first notes.
yeah, when I
that
said that no changes to the mass, bulk, and
minimal,
scale.
yeah.
Yeah, isn't the additions on the back? So the statement would be that as the proposed addition is on the rear of the existing, is proposed for the rear of the existing structure, and therefore does not affect the visible mass and scale of the existing residence.
Board Member Sherry, if I may, there is a small addition to the front of the residence. Primarily, the addition is in the rear, and the roof is being raised. So I just want to be clear if we're being so specific in
I
the
guess
motion.
I didn't understand that the roof is being raised, so.
That was the 10 inches we had talked about prior.
Okay, so I'll refine the Neighborhood Preservation Ordinance findings to reflect that the minor addition to the height of the structure is diminutive with respect to the overall scale of the project, and does not negatively affect the
Perceived bulk.
appearance of any ridgeline or hillside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslehy,
Yes.
Board Member Richards,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great.
All right, thank you.
And,
Thank you very much.
and then that does start the 10-day appeal period. So at the end of those 10 days, if we don't receive anything, you can go ahead and move forward with building and safety.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'll check in with Holly.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to our next item, which is a continued item here for project design approval, 817 Spring Street. Proposal to demolish an existing 187 square foot detached garage associated with an existing one-story 790 square foot single unit residence, and construct a detached accessory building comprised of 990 square foot two-story ADU with a 120 square foot deck and a 250 square foot workshop. The project also involves removal of landscape walls, regrade of rear yard, and new landscaping and hardscaping. The proposed total of 2,030 square feet of development on a 5,000 square foot lot is 83% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio. The ADU is under design review purview. The project was last reviewed on October 28th of 2023. Any staff comments?
No, nothing too drastic. I think the last minutes will be helpful to review here since it was kind of a while ago. But staff didn't see any big conflicting changes to the plans that we're seeing today.
Okay, perfect. So if you can state your name for the record, and then the second tab has the previous minutes, and the third tab has the previous plans if you'd like to reference them.
Sure. Yes, hi, Chair and board members. My name is Ken Vermillion. I'm here for Buildston Architecture and Planning. And George and Lori, the owners, are in the audience as well, in case we need to have questions answered from them. We are just going for concept design, just for clarification. We are bringing a material board for review just to do it. We weren't ready for PDA yet. We wanted to be confident we were going to go ahead with this concept before we moved ahead to that step. We have not gotten any consultants on board or anything yet. So we apologize for being away for so long. We did get a bit of a different interpretation from planning, and that's why we've been away for this for almost more than a year now. And the takeaway basically is that planning interpreted that a detached accessory building was under a certain section of the code that says that any single accessory building cannot be more than 1,250 square feet. As you might know, we have a 1,000 square foot ADU, and we had always intended to have a 300 square foot workshop below it. And after numerous reviews, they finally came back and decided that they would invoke that code section that limited the building overall to 1,250. So that's why we're here with a revised project. The only real changes, we made the necessary changes to pulling in the balcony from the next door neighbor. We changed the sill heights of the windows to 42, even if they look over to a commercial property, not just the residential properties that are on either side of us. And we did make the plate height sizes as we were asked last time. We did get positive comments for the design style and textures and finishes. So we're just here to reiterate that. And run you through the changes. Punch windows were slightly reconfigured, more simply arranged, and as I said, a couple of the sills were raised to meet the 42-inch sill height. Let's see, previous minutes.
There's a mouse there too, if it's helpful.
That works better, doesn't it? Yeah. So these are the guys. So they asked us to do a little study of the neighborhood. We did that, and they recognized that. They came up with a simple Pueblo style as our target, and so we tried to meet that. They did like the materials as we had switched up to, and I'll show you a diagram that shows kind of where we got some of those things. It is truly an eclectic neighborhood. But we did listen to the board's recommendations and stuck mostly with a whitewashed, plaster-washed brick veneer for the lower workshop, and then the rest is a simple Santa Barbara style light-colored plaster, smooth troweled, and the trim on the parapets are terracotta tiles. So let's see, back to this. So the easiest thing, I know a lot of you have seen the neighborhood before, some of you are new. 1- and 2-story buildings, a couple taller, commercial right to the back of our property. Residential on either side and across the street, obviously. The design, I'm going to kind of zoom.
Oh, yeah. Just through the chair to the applicant, you can click the screen is touchscreen, so you can pinch the screen like an iPad. Yeah,
Fantastic.
There you go. Yeah.
So during our last review, we looked at a couple of these boards. We put them back on the set of drawings to review briefly today. There's a plaster-coated brick facade material. The upper left is the terracotta tiles on the tops of parapets. And then this is how we translated it to ours. The plaster, ceramic or plaster terracotta tile vents in the fronts of the parapets for overflow drainage. Very typical, found on a lot of buildings in town. And you can see what we did with the wood beam canopy, the terracotta tiles on the tops of all the parapets. And then you can see the textured stucco and the brick veneer, which would be the lowest piece underneath the left side of the structure, which would be the workshop. You can see the simple punched openings, let me look at the rest of the elevations. So there's one of the examples of the 42-inch high sill that we changed. All of these on the other side meet that requirement as well. This is the view that looks back toward the street. So this is their outdoor deck. And you can see we pulled the balcony in from the left side of the building there to meet the 15-foot to the neighboring property. There's a small breezeway in between, so you can see the workshop on the left side with swinging access doors. And then there's one of the bedrooms for the ADU is downstairs on the right, and the rest of the program is on the upper level. Let's show you the change. So the big change to the project from last time is essentially the back portion of the workshop on the bottom part of this plan. So we've created a recessed area there with an exterior slab for storage and things like that. But we did take out the 50 square feet for the workshop interior. And for the most part, everything else stayed per plan. I'll go through quickly the last page sections. We show the plate heights. So there's a series of sections. So we did 9-foot plate height for the great room in the upper level of the ADU. Everything else is 8 feet. The workshop itself is a slightly lower floor, so that turns out to be an 8.6. But no other part of the ADU is greater than the 8-foot plate heights. And we're well within the maximum height, so. Here's the overall site plan. So Spring Street's on the right. Existing driveway curb cut would remain. We were asked to restyle this little fence that divides the parking area from the backyard, which we did. I can show you that in a minute. But our open space is basically the shaded hatched space in the middle. We barely make it, but we do. And you can see the massing on the far left for the workshop on the bottom and the entry to the ADU on the top part. So let's just look at those. The fence, there's a picture of our. So here's we had originally wanted a horizontal wood slat fence, matched more closely to what our original intent was, but yeah, certainly since we changed things, we went back to a more traditional fence that was meant to match the existing front house, which has been all redone and looks quite nice, much better than in the pictures that we see here. So I think that was the bulk of what we were trying to achieve, and I'm ready for any questions if you have any.
All right, thank you. We will move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular project, and if anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will move on to virtual attendance. And at this time, I do not see any hands raised for virtual attendance, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this project. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Lewis.
Great, thank you. We will start with questions, and I will start with just one. You mentioned that you're not ready for project design approval, but I think that you have everything. So is there a scope that you plan to add?
No,
Okay.
we didn't do the checklist, and Sebastian and I
Oh,
chatted about that briefly. but-
Yes, and maybe it's just a confusion because Santa Barbara has two approvals. For project, so I scheduled this project for project design approval. So it will essentially lock in the overall scope, the overall style, the location on the property, kind of the big picture. I did not schedule this project for project design approval and final approval. Final approval is where you provide your engineering documents, your kind of building permit submittal. That's where you would talk to, your engineers and get feedback on that and the
Right.
sheets from that. The project can be granted project design approval if that's something you would want. It would essentially lock in this project that we would just wait for you to submit for final approval, and then you can submit to building.
Sure, we would prefer that. I was going to ask for a vote if we could get that, but I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, so for this hearing today, we can only get project design approval. Yeah.
That would be great, thank you.
Okay, so any questions? We'll start over here.
Yeah, did you go over all the minutes from the,
Quickly, but if you could move to the second tab, actually.
just wanted to see those again. Just, so the one I was looking at in particular was the one about number 6.
Do you want to see the old plans?
Yeah, I want to see how you resolved that
Yeah,
issue.
so
I
on
wasn't
third
in the
tab
last
here,
meeting. but-
on the third tab, you have the old plans. And if you just go to the elevations.
So, yeah. You can see best here. We were teaming up windows, making different sizes, had a corner window here. That tended to look more contemporary for the previous board members. So in the revised, you can see we just went with a really simple modular type and a repetitive look. And again, some of it was because we had windows that were below the 42-inch sill height too. So let's go back to
And the reason I asked that question is because I have a comment about the windows, so I'll reserve that. But are the trellis joists 2x, or are they? What are those? What's the width of those trellis members?
They're 4x.
They are?
They wanted
Okay.
to look a little more substantial in our opinion.
And the brick with the plaster over it is only being proposed on the lower level, right?
Correct.
And what's the underneath side of the cantilevered balcony proposed to be?
It's troweled stucco as well.
Stucco, just
Yes.
like it's going to look like a cantilevered box of stucco.
Correct.
Okay. And can you go to the, zoom in on the south elevation? I was just wondering why the header on those 3 ribbon windows was higher than the other header, just out of curiosity.
It's to allow upper cabinets in the kitchen area. That is the kitchen wall. And so we like the clear story nature of light coming in.
Okay. And one last question. Can I see a photo of the existing house?
Yes.
Do you actually have
We
any
should've-
after renovation?
I wish we did.
Do you guys happen to have one on your?
Do you have one handy?
Because this is behind this existing house.
Yes.
Correct,
yes.
and they have renovated the existing, so what you see here is not
Okay, but the
the
existing
current-
house is a cottage style.
correct.
Yep.
It's just been repainted.
Right.
Besides that, it's essentially the same color.
So you're just.
Oh, got it. Okay,
You're
thank
doing
you.
a complete deviation of the existing style and doing something completely different in the back. Okay,
Correct.
those are all my questions. Thanks.
Right, board member Graffiti? Okay,
I have just one question, maybe because you went back and forth.
The gate on the elevation, the new elevation, it's shown as like wood, but on the notes, somewhere it says like it's white to match existing. So what's the proposed now? Like which one is the?
It would be the white color to match the trim on the existing home. That's
So
what
like
we
on
meant
the
to say.
elevation, it's just shown wood, but that's not what it would be.
The note on the section, the little piece we showed.
Board Member Mosley is talking about, like, if you look on the north elevation, you can see and it's part of a separate fence, not the gate, correct?
Oh, yes, okay, so, let's see, what do we, the north?
Right, so they're on the right,
So
on the bottom
side-
right, well, there too.
Yeah, so the side fence will be wood, but if you can show me where the side gate, that it's white.
Yep.
So it's like a white gate, but the fence is wood?
Well, no, it's two different fences,
Okay.
actually, we're talking about.
Okay.
So the site plan, go back to site plan. So because this one here in the middle is attached to the main house and splits the front yard from the back, they wanted that to be more traditional, dog ear, vertical, painted the same as the trim color of the house. But this is the other private yard fence that is still vertical. It just might not be dog-eared and might not be painted. Yeah.
Okay.
And to help answer some for the previous, for board members that weren't here previously, the goal and intent here was that with the distance between the ADU and the main house, that the board previously felt that that was enough to warrant it having a different character, but that anything attached to the main house should feel like it belongs to the main house.
Understood.
Any other questions?
No, no
Okay.
more
Board Member Richards?
No questions.
Okay, we'll move on to comments. Board Member Sherry?
I just had a comment about the use of plaster, and you've still got those three windows that are really close to one another. Is there supposed to be plaster in between those windows?
There is currently. In the end, we may decide that maybe having brake metal connect those into one bigger looking window could be possible. But that seemingly is a small enough detail that we feel like we could do that either
Yeah,
way.
I just feel like this style, this Mediterranean or Pueblo style, when you have this really small piece of plaster, it doesn't read as, the whole idea of the plaster finish is supposed to read as a masonry building, and then when you have, which most of them aren't, they're wood framed, and so you can do this kind of window breakup, but it doesn't look as appropriate to the style. And so my comment would be I would prefer to see a single window punching through that mass of plaster.
I will point out that splits right now between the office and the bedroom, so they're
Oh.
making up a wall between it. So it'd be better to,
Have two separate windows with a more
And/or enough
significant
bulk between them.
amount of plaster in between the windows. Because the exterior doesn't read as if there's a wall in the middle of those two. It reads as one big room, and then the only other thing is the cantilever balcony on this style. I would prefer to see something supporting the cantilever plaster, but if that's really, if you just really want a cantilever plaster balcony, then it's not a deal breaker for me. So I'd say just look at maybe what to do there, or how you're going to ventilate it, or just look at that detail. But it's not a big deal for me. My major thing was the breakup in the windows, the plaster.
Yeah, I think those are great comments. We'll
That's it.
take that into account for sure.
Thanks.
Board Member Rocafati?
Okay, great. Overall supportive. I was one of the members at the last hearing for this, and the two big discussion points, like Chair Lewis mentioned, was did we find a departure in architectural style acceptable? And we did. And then also looking at the detailing of the windows and any other architectural details to take it kind of further away from the modern style architecture and more towards the Pueblo or Spanish style. And so I think the comments Vice Chair Sherry said about the windows are spot on, and I agree with those to consider moving forward.
I'm hopping back to a question, but the proposed screen wall, was that for perceived direction from us, or is that for privacy for?
That's for privacy, looking
Okay.
over to a next-door neighbor,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay,
So the cutback, the reason for the cutback we
Mhm.
used to, sorry, I can just.
just
do
for the
it right here.
handrail?
Yeah, the screen wall used to be flush with the outside face of the building beyond, of course, but they saw that as a balcony, even though it wasn't a walkable balcony, that needed to respect the 6-foot setback instead of the 4-foot setback of an ADU. So
Okay.
we were required to push that in the extra 2 feet, even though you couldn't walk there. But, so that's it. But the screen wall is still there for the privacy because
Okay.
it's within 15 feet of the neighboring property.
You don't
For
have
upper
to
level.
have that from our board standpoint, so.
No, it's planning, yeah.
That's if it's not getting reviewed by us. So we're okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's okay from a, it's looking back towards the backyard, there's no neighbor complaints or anything like that, and it just adds this very solid thing right at the front that if they don't need it, I think it would look better without,
Well, we would
That's all.
like that freedom,
Okay.
for sure.
okay, great. Okay.
Okay.
Board Member Mosley?
I have like a common question. On the balcony, it seems like there's like above the guardrail, there's like a handrail.
Mhm.
And what's the material proposed for that?
That would be a dark painted steel to match the window frames, yeah.
And I'm wondering the swing door of the workshop,
It's-
was it like a specific style that was like, did you guys like end up with, is there any other studies that was, like I'm
There were
having a hard
several,
time
let's
like
say.
finding it like fit in the style, because like I understand totally that with the material change, you guys like change from contemporary to more like the style that fits in the neighborhood.
Right.
And it's working really nice. Just like wondering is that the leftover, the same as the old plans, and was there
It's
any thought?
close. It is more conservative. I think it's basically raised frames with an interior reset panel with a couple of lights up there for some daylight in the space when it's, not so great weather when he's working in the workshop. But it is a planning requirement that they not be greater than 4 feet each. They don't want you to appear as though you can put a car in there, so this is as big as we can get it.
I see.
And it's yeah.
That was just like a question,
Yeah.
so. And regarding the board member Sherry's question about like those upper windows above the cabinets, I understand that there's like a plate height. You don't think that they can be raised a little bit, that the sill will be the head height at least of the window on the left? Structurally?
We can look at that when the time comes, for sure. I think it would be nice to align them offset if that's possible. But again, we were asked to keep it to 9 feet total, so.
I see. Because
I feel like
everything
that's
else is
more difficult.
aligning. All the windows
Right,
I'm
right.
seeing like vertically or horizontally, they're aligning.
Yeah.
I think that's the only
Okay.
thing.
Board Member Richards?
No questions.
Okay. Comments?
No
No
comments.
comments, okay. Okay, I am okay, ready for PDA. From my standpoint, I do agree
Before
with.
you,
oh,
before
yeah.
you go into that, I just had one more quick comment, and it's a similar issue that I was bringing up before, so I'll just tag on. I didn't see it until you zoomed in on it, but on that upper level balcony, it looks like the outer edge has a post, and it looks like it's part of the plaster and in the same plane as the.
No, that's what I was pointing out, that I recommend getting rid of, that they've slid up that wall because they think they need a privacy wall there for planning,
Oh,
but they
it's a
don't.
wall and not.
They don't.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
So I do recommend bringing that back down and
And then supporting
and then
the
having a
trellis
different
with a
trellis.
different way, and
yeah.
then providing details and final approval
Right.
for, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we could easily do something different there.
I think that I appreciate working with, all the different board feedback over the last year and a half, and with planning. And I do think that Board Member Sherry's recommendations are worth considering for whether they're corbels or things like that, or the spacing between the top of the double doors into the workshop and or between the windows. So, but I think conceptually, it meets the requirements. It's far enough back in the property, and I think what is visible from this street is within the suggestions that were made previously. So I'll move to, oh, I don't have my motion card. Thanks.
I don't have it like,
Yeah, no, this is
like you.
perfect. No, I moved to approve this project for project design. Oh, actually, one question to the board is, I think given the details we might want to see, it'd be helpful to come to the full board for final, but I'd also be open to consent. So any straw poll, consent or full board for final?
I'm okay sending it to consent as long as, I think the applicant understands that the detailing of the trellis and the detailing of the windows and the amount of plaster is something that we're sensitive to. And so as long as we give good guidance, I don't have any problem with it going
I think
to
okay
consent.
to go to consent if like all the details are provided.
Great. So I move to approve this project for project design approval and recommend going to the consent calendar for final approval. With the comments that the board recommends thickening the plaster between the windows on the north elevation and or any windows that are close to each other with plaster between them so that it appears as if it is consistent with the Pueblo style. The board recommends removing the plaster privacy wall at the balcony on the south actually, I guess that's not south. At the
West.
east elevation.
Okay.
And to provide details of how the trellis will be supported in the corner. The board recommends considering alignment of windows on the south elevation in some fashion. The board recommends considering corbels or some sort of support holding up the cantilever balcony, and providing space between the doors into the workshop and the balcony above to mimic the necessary plaster spacing for support. I'm ready for findings.
Thank you. Before I change the screen, I just want to make sure that in the motion so far on the table, you're recommending. I just want to make sure that I'm not sure if you want to make it recommendations or requirements.
I want them as recommendations.
The decking with the cantilever deck was more of a recommendation. Like I said in my
Right.
comment, it was not a
I
deal breaker for
agree.
me.
I agree.
But I do think that the window placements being
Correct.
so close to one another, and it's not a thickening of the plaster, it's an
the
increase
width.
in the width between windows.
Right.
So make sure
So
that,
that first motion about the windows, that one is a statement, not a recommend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
that was a request to increase the width of the plaster.
visible width
The visible
between
width
the
between windows.
windows.
And then the other one was a recommendation.
Okay.
And the other, and to return with details. Of
Correct.
the trellis, that's
Well,
not a
all details are
recommendation.
required for fall
But
final
details
approval.
appropriate to the style.
Right.
Details appropriate to.
Okay. And it's also a recommendation for the south elevation window alignments as well.
Correct. I think we understand the feasibility there, and it's not a prominent elevation.
Great. Thank you for the clarification. And let's move
I have one
on.
question from all board members. I just saw it, like regarding the balcony on the west elevation, that guardrail, the steel, I think like it's wrapping on the side. So I want to know everybody's thought on like, I think it's like where you guys like came more contemporary, so it left up like that. So now that it's like a Pueblo style, like this part.
Given the side that it's on, I'm okay.
And like, are you guys like, because they're like removing the other wall, I'm wondering if they want to like mirror the what they're doing on this side to this side or not. That's like a design.
I think that's a detail that is to
Yes.
follow. And,
Okay.
And what's missing from the schematic drawing are the stanchions that are going to
Yes.
support that.
Yeah.
And how they're connected to the deck, and also how the outside trellis is going to be connected to the 42-inch high plaster railing. So all those
Yeah.
details are supposed to come back. I'm okay with whatever they come
Okay,
back.
just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, just to clarify, we wanted to keep the plaster a little lower to make it look less large from below, and so that's why we
have
wanted
more
to finish it
visibility.
with
Yeah,
a
okay.
little bit more, yes.
Thank
Great.
you.
I'll add a statement in there before the neighborhood preservation findings that the board looks forward to seeing the architectural details that support the Pueblo style. Okay. My findings.
I'm almost there. I'm writing as fast as I can.
The proposed development is consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. The proposed development is compatible with the neighborhood, and its size, bulk, and scale is appropriate to the site and neighborhood, as it's placed as far back from the residence with sufficient space, indicating its own design style. And it was within the size, bulk, and scale of the neighborhood that is mixed with commercial and residential uses. The proposed buildings and structures are designed with quality architectural details. The proposed materials and colors maintain the natural appearance of the ridgeline or hillside. No trees are proposed to be removed. The public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. The project generally complies with the Good Neighbor Guidelines regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting. The development, including proposed structures and grading, preserves significant public scenic views of and from the hillside. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sherry,
Yes.
Board Member Graffiti,
Yes.
Board Member Moslahy.
Yes.
Board Member Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great.
Okay,
And
thank you.
just for the applicant, that does start the 10-day appeal period for the decision made here today. But in the meantime, feel free to email me and we can get working on the final approval material for the next steps. And
Okay. As a reminder, our third item is postponed indefinitely. So that is the end of our single-family design board meeting for January 27th.
great.